Tennessee's in a weird spot when it comes to NIL because they had a certain budget, and I feel very comfortable saying they were over that budget because of Boo Carter, Mike Matthews, David Sanders. They were hoping for an influx of cash. They took $1 million off the books with the Nico situation, with Nico going versus Joey Aguilar, and really $2 million because every SEC quarterback's making $3 and change. You know what I mean? Every starting quarterback. So you were going to have to pay him $3 and change if you wanted to keep him. So really, you're saving $2 million there, but you were already over your cap, if you will, that the boosters had given you. And so it was going to be a tough situation. You're going to have to make cuts somewhere to be able to get those guys, because do you want Boo Carter, Mike Matthews, David Sanders, or do you want Slaughter? Do you want Thomas? Do you want backups? Those are your choices. I would just as soon have depth. I would. If it were me, I would have just said, that's great, David Sanders. You're a freshman. I'm not paying you piles of dough. I'll just let you can go to Ohio State. I'll start Larry Johnson and sign another guy. And I'll have depth there, and then I'll just go steal a tackle out of the transfer portal later on, and I would just look at the group of 5 schools as the minor leagues. That's what I would have done. It's not what Tennessee did. They wanted the 5-star recruit. They went and got David Sanders. He's a 5-star recruit. I look at the Arch Manning Nico situation. That's a lot of money to pay some of these young guys. I would not do business that way if I didn't have to do business, especially if I'm in I don't want to say cash poor situation like Tennessee is, but Tennessee does not have Texas money, Texas A&M money, Ohio State money, Michigan money, even Alabama or Georgia money. They're living more where LSU is than they are where Ohio State is.
All right, it sounds like you're saying Tennessee is playing the game the Seattle Mariners played a few years ago in free agency when they gave Robinson Cano $300 million. Or playing the game Dan Snyder played with Washington for so many years, where he overspent on a couple of key players and then was just totally bereft of talent across the rest of the board. Are you saying that's what Tennessee's doing in their NIL?
I would say a little bit. Look, Tennessee's old head, big money guys that you've heard about forever are just not down with him. And I feel very comfortable saying this, hearing it from one of them. They're not down with I'm handing an 18-year-old a bunch of money who hadn't done anything yet. And the market's insane, right? Like it's nuts right now. And so it's like, you're really going to pay a guy like Mike Matthews, and I'm not trying to rip Mike Matthews. He caught 7 more passes than I did for Tennessee, and I get the future's bright. But you're going to pay that guy like he's an elite wide receiver right now? That's rough, man. So I think Tennessee does not have the big-time money that some others do. But they're not in a bad situation. They're just on that second tier. But it's hard to go pay elite money for people when you live on the second tier. And you have to be very careful with it. And I think we are seeing right now that it is not good business to pay young guys and to go boom in recruiting. They're recruiting high school players. It's the lifeblood of your program in the past. But I'm looking at it right now saying, man, Texas is $6 million into Arch Manning before he's good, right? And Tennessee paid Nico, how much money did they pay him? 4 and change before he never was that good. Best he was a game manager last year. Jackson Arnold was making over $2 million at Oklahoma, and he was terrible. It just wasn't, and it's not his fault. He's young. So I don't know that it's in the best interest of anybody to be in the top 10 in recruiting right now, because it just doesn't seem like, look, we saw a few years ago, first couple of years, if you were tops in the transfer portal, it never translated to wins. And right now what we're seeing is I probably am not going to pay the elite guy, but what I'm going to do is go get a lot of guys, and honestly, Rick Barnes it. And I'm going to bring up my guys, my young guys that I've cherry-picked and hand-selected, and I'm going to develop them, and then I'm going to go to the transfer portal to fit the other needs. Because I just – look, something's going on with Tennessee and money with NIL. And Spire keeps saying, no, we're fine on money. Well, then why do your guys always threaten to enter the transfer portal? And that you don't see that anywhere else. That's not happening at Georgia. It's not happening at Alabama. It's not happening at Florida. That a guy like Dylan Sampson that ends up being the SEC Player of the Year threatens to enter the transfer portal for you to give him money. Ricky Gibson, and again, I'll give him a pass in the Ricky Gibson situation because somebody came to him and offered him piles of dough. And if Tennessee got him close, he was going to stay, but he's not stupid. But I think Tennessee's in not a great situation right now from an NIL standpoint for football, I will say. Basketball, I think they're doing okay. But for football, I think Tennessee is struggling right now.
Well, that actually brings you to a point I've talked about. I think that I don't think Tennessee's going to be ahead of the curve on this, but I think somebody's going to be really ahead of the curve because I know there's schools pay the coaches, NIL is boosters that pay the players, and boosters also help fund projects. So the money's all similar. the money's technically not in the same pot, but effectively it's all in the same pot.
It's just moved money. It's not new money, right?
Yes,
it's just
exactly.
moved money.
Yeah. So one of my arguments is that there's going to be a school to figure out, why don't we go cheap on a coach? And then we got more NIL money to spend on the players. And I don't know who the first school that figures that out is, but there's going to be a school to figure that out.
I pointed this out many, many times. And a part of it was because Lane, and I don't have a personal problem. Like, I liked Lane when he was here. He's fine. Lane went nuts about how much money players are making. Or like, I guess, right after the season ended in December. And then I pulled it up and I said, okay, based on Ole Miss football revenue, Lane Kiffin is making about 9% of the total overall football revenue for Ole Miss football. You know what percentage of the football revenue Mike Tomlin's making with the Pittsburgh Steelers right now?
How much?
0.01%. The amount of money that coaches are getting paid is stupid. Now the amount of money players are getting paid is also stupid. So kind of started when the coaches started making that much money. Honestly, coaches should make about $2 million a year if you want to go based on what they should make from the amount of revenue that a football program brings in. But that toothpaste is probably not going back in the tube, and they're just going to keep making more money. The thing that to me has to happen is they have to start monetizing college football and looking at it like a business. I don't know if you saw the Dabo Swinney piece yesterday where he said, we're going to the Super Conference soon. That's happening sooner rather than later. You have to get to a point where, like, look at Tennessee's schedule this year. What percentage of those games suck, are just bad games? And frankly, you're not fired up about it at all. And then go to your NFL schedule, whoever your NFL team, and especially if your NFL team is competitive. What percentage of those games suck? Not many, because they're going to make sure they monetize every game as much as they humanly possibly can. The model for college football monetization is completely broken, and especially in an era of revenue sharing, and you're going to have to change it. And I also think people, like I'm in my 40s, Caleb, people my age, and I said this for 20 years on the air, my dad's generation would give you millions of dollars to be able to walk through the locker room and $100 handshake players and to be important. My generation will not, right? Like the people I know who are super uber crazy rich, you know what they want? Their 10 tickets in the luxury section, you know what I mean, the yeehaw section, and their luxury box. So instead of getting $5 million from a booster that year, you're getting $300,000, and it's a guy making the same money, and that money goes from somewhere. And you have some boosters at Tennessee, and I hope I'm not speaking completely out of school or burning anybody. You have some big time boosters at Tennessee who cannot wrap their brains around paying Mike Matthews 7 figures to play football when he caught 7 balls last year. Most of these guys are really, really good business people. They cannot wrap their brain around the idea of, we're paying for this. We're supposed to recoup the investment in NIL, but I'm not seeing this guy do a single ad anywhere, and I'm not seeing a single dollar get recouped. And that's not a Tennessee problem. That's an everybody problem, right? Like, who in college football are you seeing do big-time ads out there? It's not happening. And the reason why is it's all price. Like, we've done this a lot. It's priced so stupid. Like, it's so dumb that no client can make their money back. Like, whoever from the marketing side has blown this in NIL across the entire nation. It's not a Tennessee thing. You can't pay $50,000 for a college football player to come on somebody's car lot and they make money on that, or even $10,000. Now, $2,000, they can make money on that. $10,000, nobody can make money on that. And it's everywhere around the nation. So some of these boosters at Tennessee that have lots and lots and lots of money are looking at this saying, we have the stupidest business model in the world, because they're about myopic about Tennessee. It's everywhere. Nobody is recouping the money that they're putting in NIL because all of the marketing plans are stupid. In the collective's defense, they have to have enough money involved in it that the player actually shows up. Because if you're paying a 19-year-old $1 million and you tell them, hey, you need to show up for this thing that's $2,000 and you get 40% of that, is that kid going to show up for $800 when he already has $1 million in the bank? I don't know that he necessarily is, but you have to be able to figure out a way to get them there and recoup some money, because people who are good at business, like people who are billionaires at Tennessee or high 9-figure earners, are not going to be guys that say, yeah, I'm just going to hand you $5 million for nothing. You know what I mean? And let you use that and you're never going to recoup the investment because there's no business plan. Probably ain't going to happen.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because I talked with Dave yesterday. I said there's different levels of like the 1%ers and wealthy people. There are the 400,000 to like 4 million who they just want to live a happy, comfortable life, whatever. Then there is like the 4 million to 100 million people that, you know, they got money to blow, and they might blow some money. But I've said this before. If you're somebody who ever got to be a billionaire, you don't do vanity projects for money. Like they don't do that. I mean, we talked about this with Phil Knight. Phil Knight is not about to just throw money, no matter how much Nike sponsors things. He's not about to throw money if it doesn't. I mean, this is a dude that uses child slavery in Bangladesh to make his clothes, okay? And most billionaires do things like that. That's how they get their billions. They worship money over everything. They're not going to part ways with their money so their college football program wins on Saturday. They're not doing that.
The guy that I believe is the richest guy in Knoxville right now, right? Because a lot of people moved, right? Like Jimmy Haslam moved, but I believe this guy's the richest guy in Knoxville, and if not, he's in the top 2 or 3. He lets Tennessee use one of his planes when he's not using them. He buys a box. That's it. That's what he does, right? So there's another guy I'm very good friends with his son, and he is a high 9-figure guy per year and is in business with some very, if you said their name, you would know it, NFL people and things like that, with some of their businesses they run now that they've retired. He will not get money. Like, he's not going to do it. And he's just not dealing with it because he knows it's just an endless hole of suck of, I'm going to keep donating all this money into this hole. And they're just not going to do it because, again, you don't get to be someone who's worth that kind of money without trying to pay attention to where your money's going, right? So, and the unfortunate part is there is no return on investment in NIL right now. Now, the hopes with the school, what the schools are doing is setting themselves up for the House settlement to get passed. We'll do revenue sharing in July, and then NIL will become NIL, and we don't care what happens after that. That's not our business anymore. That will be a better system. I just have a hard time believing that players are going to go from, like, if you think about it, I would say like basketball right now and football together at most big schools is about $30 million. They're going to go from $30 million just for men's basketball and football to $20.5 million for the entire athletics department. That's not happening. You know what I mean? Like, so especially when it's illegal, it's going to court, right? And then they're going to lose. And then we're going to do this all over again because no one wants to come up with a legitimate solve.